What up, everyone? It's your homeboy Trey Baird. I never actually call myself homeboy unless I'm being facetious. But today we're going to be doing Bugs Bunny Crazy Castle. It's to my knowledge, it's the only surviving game from my original NES collection. All my games either got stolen or sold or lost or traded or whatever. But I think this is the only game that I still have from Christmas of 1989 when I got my NES, and I got Super Mario Brothers, I got Bugs Bunny Crazy Castle, and I got Sesame Street, Astro Grover, and Ernie's Magic Shapes, I think it was called. So yeah, I still have this exact same cartridge, and it's one of those games I don't see a whole lot of in the marketplace. I'm not sure if it's rare. It's obviously not in the same category as other rare games, but the thing is, not only is it not exactly a common game, but it's also a fairly unknown game. It's not popular. At least it wasn't popular until the Angry Video Game Nerd did a review on it. But I actually grew up playing this game, and the thing is, in AVGN, he didn't actually, he wasn't too hard on the game itself. He was a lot harder on the sequels. It's not a bad game, like, by any stretch of the imagination. It's not a great game, but it's not bad. So, I believe everything's in order, so let's just fire up the game. Yes, this time it actually started on the first attempt. Last time I was playing Super Mario 3 and I had a little bit of issue with that. Okay. So, as with tradition with all my other Gossipin' Game sessions, I'm trying something a little different today, because that's sort of the method to my madness. Is I'm, especially in this first month of production, I'm trying not to get too comfortable with anything. I'm throwing everything at the wall and I'm seeing what sticks. So this time what I'm doing is I'm actually trying to record multiple sessions in one day. I'm about to go on vacation. Today's Wednesday. I'm going on Friday. Going to Lake of the Ozarks, which I'm looking forward to. Got a lakefront hotel that is pet friendly, and I couldn't be more excited. And I'll be sure to post a review of this property, this hotel, when I get back. But anyway, the reason, that's why I'm trying to do multiple sessions in one day. My goal is 3. We're going to at least do 2. But we're going to try to keep it down to shorter sessions, because I really need to get this content produced. I fell behind my goal this month, and it's okay if I give it an honest effort for a 30-day trial and fail. That's acceptable. What's not acceptable is just to give up. This is a standard that I developed from doing the National Novel Writing Month in November, and sometimes I do Camp NaNoWriMo. Is that how you say it? NaNoWriMo? I did Camp NaNoWriMo, and from time to time, and I think I've attempted it 3 times, but I've only successfully done it 1 time. And the lesson I learned is, even if it doesn't matter if you're 100% sure you're not going to meet your goal for the month. I mean, that's irrelevant. That's kind of a negative way of looking at it, unless you literally are down to like the 11th hour on the last day and you still have 10,000 words to write. That's not going to happen unless you squeeze in a little subplot about, like in The Shining, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, and you write that 1,000 times and you stick it in your novel. I mean, that would be a pretty lazy thing to do, but that's about the only way you can write 10,000 words in 1 hour. But unless that's literally the case, it's kind of negative. It's kind of a negative way to look, to say you're 100% sure you're not going to make your goal. You know, it's all in the mindset. And I've been a pretty negative person for most of my life, although I've also been a pretty positive person. It's tale of two dualities going at it my whole life. And oftentimes, you know, I really appreciate the quote, whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, you're correct. I think there's, oh my god, there's so much truth. See, I forgot that I couldn't do that. You should be able to hit them in midair like that. But in my adult years, I've come to really, oh man, I missed the door. That is one of the few complaints that I have about this game is the controls are not as tight as they should be for a game like this, where things come down to the. You can't tell at the early parts of this game, but later on, this game gets pretty, you know, tight, as in there's very little margin of error. So I just wish that the controls were a little better. So what was I talking about? I know I was talking about dualities and two sides going at it. Yeah, whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't. You know, in my adult years, I've come to really appreciate that because, as I said, I've always been a negative person, and I've come to learn that that's, you know, if you have the physicality necessary, the physical game necessary to step up and get something done, the mental game is the only thing holding you back. If you are physically able to do a job, the mental game is the only thing holding you back. So, you know, so what if you know, if you're doing NaNoWriMo and you have 30,000 words to do in 4 days? It's possible. It's inconvenient and it's not very much fun, but it's possible. And if you believe that it'll get done, your chances of getting it done are a lot higher than if you don't believe, which your chances are pretty much zero. Actually, I would say they are zero if you don't believe it. You know, believing that you can do something can turn the impossible into the possible. Because not believing makes it impossible. Believing makes it possible. And I know you probably heard this 1,000 times in your life and you're like, man, quit telling me this bullshit. It's not true. You just haven't internalized the information yet. You may understand it, but there's a difference between understanding something and implementing it. And I urge you to implement it. Try things out, even if you're skeptical. Try out things, because there are numerous hacks, you'd probably call it, that I've tried over the years, and most of them didn't work for me. But almost all of them that did work for me were things that I did not think were going to work for me, that I thought were ridiculous. But you know, there's wisdom in these kind of tips. People understand the way that the human brain works. They understand having to overcome these things, and they understand why they're giving this advice. I'm not going to digress too much and give you examples, but you know, I do have examples to give, and if you'd like to hear them, you know, hit me up. You know, put a comment or reach me on Twitter, and I'll talk about whatever you want me to. I'm just trying to stay on topic here. I love this music. I think I've completely gotten away from the point that I was intending to make, but you know, oh well, maybe I'll just get it in the next session, which, you know, since I'm recording 3 episodes today, that's right, that's why I was on the subject. I set a goal of, for the month of September, which is this month, and I debated moving this to October because of the vacation. But then after several days of thought, I was like, nah, just do it. You know, challenge yourself. Step outside of your comfort zone. 30 days in September. That was close. I should have gone up that pipe. 30 days in September, either record, edit, or post-edit a session of Gossip and Games. Every day. Now, time has not always been my friend in this challenge, but the challenge evolves. If you can't do it one day, do twice the work the next day. If you're not going to be able to do twice the work the next day, do twice as much the previous day. Just do your damnedest to make it happen. Push yourself to reach that goal, and hey, you know, if it turns out that at the end of the month you don't reach your goal, you will have a tangible result to show for it nevertheless. But try to reach the goal. And, you know, the goal was to just keep a steady production of the show going. The benefits would be that I could grow the show and make it become what it is a lot more quickly while still being organic than I would if I just put it on the back burner. I decided in September to put Gossip and Games on the front burner. And we're only halfway through the month and I'm already seeing a lot of progress. Just 2 months ago, this show was just an impulse. Now it's a very real thing, and it's very close to getting to my original vision. I'm not quite sure where the show is going to go from here. The original vision was that it would be similar to what Pat the NES Punk does with Ian Ferguson, Pixelsicle on Twitter. That it would just be short segments doing basically one topic at a time. And that's what I'm doing for now. But I'm wondering if perhaps it would be better, especially as I launch new shows in the future, if because right now Gossip and Games is a daily show. It airs Monday through Friday, no exceptions. There might be more episodes than that, but there will never be less, because that was the inspiration for the show. I needed it to be a dependable, continuous thing that people can rely on. Whether that's a positive thing, they rely on me to enlighten them, to entertain them, or if it's a negative thing, they rely on me to have something to be pissed off about, because I don't always share opinions with the mainstream. You know, ever since I've become like in my late 20s and now I'm 30, my controversial, polarizing opinions have tapered off a little. I tend to agree with people more than I used to, because I've learned that just because someone has a different opinion than I do doesn't necessarily mean that that's a bad thing. Number one, I might be wrong. You know, I might agree with them in the future. And number two, even if I am 100% right, there's a reason that this person has that opinion. Maybe in their case, that reason is legit. Or maybe there's a good reason for their ignorance. But you know, I'm not stupid. I want you to understand that. I don't consider myself wise, but I also believe that a true sign of wisdom is understanding that you're not wise, because if you think that you're wise, that's a clear giveaway that you're not. I mean, you know, most of the time. In most cases that I see, it's a clear indicator. Oh man, just a split second too late. But I'm not stupid. I'd like to think I'm wise, and people have told me I am, but that's not for me to make the call. I could just be an average person who, with a narcissistic personality, who thinks he's better than everybody else. You know, time will tell on that one. Which, by the way, it won't. It won't, you know, I'm not a narcissist. I may have a touch of it, but, I am a genius, and I am wise. Wow. Just contradicted myself pretty dang quickly there. Yeah, see? I call myself out on my own bullshit on Gossip and Games. I run the crawl on the bottom whenever I disagree with something that I said, which is a funny concept. it's not like there's a long turnaround time. Usually I'm editing the video within a week of shooting it, but I'll be like, man, what was I talking about? And then I'll just kind of run the scroll, or I'll clarify something that I meant to say but never got around to, because that's the point I'm trying to make, is that if I come across sometimes as not exactly being knowledgeable at something, it's probably just because I'm socially awkward, which I am. It's probably the number one factor that holds me back in life, is that I'm socially awkward. You know what you're gonna do. I think I've rambled about that topic long enough. You know, the thing about this game is, I like to think of this game as an alternate reality. Especially now, shows like The Walking Dead are hot, and they just recently launched the spin-off show Fear the Walking Dead, which so far, in my opinion, is pretty cool. I think it's starting a lot stronger than Walking Dead, but Walking Dead kind of tapered off a little bit, and most people say second season, I say third season. I thought the second season was just fine, except for a few major plot events that were surprising just for the sake of being surprising. And you know, that's a show like The Walking Dead. You know, no character is safe. You know, you can't have any preconceptions about what's going to happen, and that's a big part of what makes it a success, I understand. But sometimes I feel like the writers do things just to be shocking, or just to throw a curveball, and I don't necessarily think that it's in the best interest of the story being told. And I'm avoiding spoilers, but if you've seen the show, you know probably what I'm talking about near the very end of season 2. I felt like the show was moving towards something very satisfying as a subject, and then well done, man. And then moved away from it. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. The show was moving towards, you know, human behavior during a crisis. And how do people handle these things? Well, it's human nature to form tribes or cliques. You know, I've always struggled with cliques. I hate cliques. But I'm finding a certain amount of comfort in the realization that they are evolutionary necessity, because people would click together, they would form tribes to survive, and it's an unnecessary remnant of our caveman years, us versus them. You know, click together and form little groups of people. You know, you see it in all sorts of aspects of life. Human beings seem like their very existence is predicated upon the idea that they're going to form cliques. It's the whole reason we exist. And that would make things kind of complicated if that were true, because cliques bother me. They always have. I left my last job because of that. I was doing very well and I was respected, but I couldn't deal with the cliquish behavior. When in an environment that stresses teamwork, to have people coming together to take advantage of the hierarchy they've been given because part of their clique is management, and to basically have a get out of jail free card for any kind of labor, any kind of work, it didn't sit right with me, man. So it's my burden. I don't